Hello and welcome to another recap. I noticed on my last video the microphone was a bit quiet. That should be problem solved today. Just change the settings. The problem is you change the settings of your mic, and then every now and again it will just reset itself. And if I don't notice before I record that it's reset itself, then it ends up being really quiet. It's really annoying. I just need to make sure I check it every time. You'll also notice new layout. The Python, my nickname in BBC's Chess Masters. Yes, it is cringe, but I'm just rolling with it. You got to roll with these things. But onto the chess. Um, I was black on board 2. I was playing an 1800 ECF rating, so a very good player. And he started with d4. I played d5, c4, e6. The queen's gambit declined. Knight f3, knight f6, e3, bishop e7, knight c3, and castles. This is all standard stuff, mainline stuff. Queen's gambit declined. He plays bishop d3, and now I take on c4. So what I want to do is I want to thin cat with this bishop. I want to take this pawn, and I want to develop the bishop this way to get on this nice diagonal. But what the idea is you wait until they develop their bishop to d3, and then you take the pawn, so that he has to take back, and you basically gain the tempo, because you wanted to play that move anyway, and you force them to move their bishop a second time. I then play a6, and he then plays a3, which is this is kind of where we deviate from master lines. I'm pretty sure the main line, the most popular master move is they just castle, and then I play b5, and then they go bishop d3, bishop b7. This is kind of the main line. But what we get in this game is a3, b5, and then he drops the bishop to a2, so keeps it on this diagonal instead of putting it back onto this one. Then I play bishop b7, and then he castled. So yeah, just a slight deviation from kind of what's known as the main line. I play c5, and he takes, and I take back. And we end up in this position where I was pretty happy out the opening. You know, I've got these bishops on nice squares. I just need to get my knight in the game, bring my rooks to these two open files, all pretty standard stuff. You can see the eval bar is pretty equal. It actually slightly favours black. So yeah, I was happy here. White played queen to e2, and then I made the first inaccuracy, which was queen to e7. You can just see that eval bar that went from kind of slightly favouring black to slightly favouring white. I think it's just because this is a bit of an inactive square. You know, what's it really doing on e7? I considered queen to c7, which I think the engine likes the best. You know, it's operating down the c file. It's looking over at the king side. It's covering this e5 square, which I think is quite a critical square because maybe White will put a knight on here, or maybe he'll want to push this pawn. But the reason I didn't like putting the queen here is because at some point White's going to put a rook down here. You know, he might go here. So let's say I drop the bishop. He goes here. And then sooner or later, there's a white rook coming to the c file. And I was thinking, you know, do I really want my queen there on a c file with a rook x-raying it? It just didn't feel safe. I think that's why I went for queen to e7. It just felt really safe there. But like I said, I think it's not really doing much. It's a bit inactive. So I think when I analysed the game in my own notes, I think I just said knight d7. Just before I commit this queen, just get the knight. You know the knight wants to go to d7. Well, d7 or c6, but you don't want to block this bishop. And I also, you know, I'm protecting that knight, and I also would like to reroute it over to the king side. So I knew I wanted to go to d7. You know the rook is going to want to come to c8. So there's a couple of moves you can make before you commit this queen. So going forward, that's what I'll look to do. But anyway, we've got queen e7. White went b4. I dropped the bishop back to a7. I do think it may have been slightly better on d6. Again, looking at the king side, covering this e5 square. But I decided to bring it back to a7. Again, it just felt a bit safer over here. I've got these two bishops just snipering down here, but obviously this bishop's kind of just biting on granite a bit here. It maybe would have been better on this diagonal. But I do look to get it to this diagonal later, as you'll see. My opponent played bishop to b2. I went knight b to d7. Again, like I say, at some point the rooks naturally want to go to these two open files, and I was looking at this knight maybe rerouting over here. And like I say, with my two bishops and these two knights coming over to the king side, probably can cause them some trouble there. So yeah, we both bring our rooks to the open files, very natural moves. And then white plays h3. This kind of just feels like a bit of a waiting move. I know the engines love little moves like this where you just prevent pieces from coming in, but yeah, I don't know. Was I going to put my knight there anytime soon? I don't think so. I think this is more just a waiting move than anything else. But yeah, happy to see him push a pawn in front of his king, because every time you push a pawn in front of your king, it does weaken their king's castle, and later on I might be able to provoke some more weaknesses, as you'll see. I bring the bishop to b8, and again, I knew the bishop was just slightly better on this diagonal. I want to go on a kingside attack, and also I was preempting this move, e4. Currently, this pawn is covering this f4 square, but I had a feeling he's going to want to push this. And I thought if he pushes e4, which he does, then I'm going to go knight to h5, because I'm going to sit my knight on this f4 square. And that's part of the reason why I played bishop to b8, ready to just cover that square. And on this f4 square, my knight's going to be really good here, looking at all these squares in the enemy territory, looking at, on the king side. And again, if he plays g3 to ever kick this knight, it's going to really weaken his king, because this pawn's going to be soft. This pawn, maybe I can bring the bishop back and pin this pawn at some point. Maybe I can and look to sack on here once this pawn is pinned. Yeah, just like I say, because he's already pushed the h pawn. If he then pushed the g pawn as well, it would just really soften his king up. So yeah, he did push, and you can see that eval Bartlett just swings right in my favour, because I get knight to f4 in, and that knight's really strong there. The queen moves, and like I say, he had to move the queen. I'm attacking. He hasn't got time to play g3, but the queen moves here, and so my plan was, I was like, okay, he's going to move the queen, and then I'll drop my knight back to g6, where I've then got 1, 2, 3 attackers on this pawn. And he's got 1, 2 defenders, maybe a third from a discovered attack, but I can always remove this. So my idea was remove one of the defenders, take the pawn, and I'm just going to be a healthy pawn up. The problem was, because I already had that in my head, that's what I was going to do. That's what I went straight into, knight g6. But I missed tactics, and the tactics were knight takes e5. Looks like I'm sacrificing this piece, because the knight can take, and obviously if the bishop takes, queen takes. But the idea is that after the knight takes, I go queen to g5, where I'm threatening checkmate, and also I'm threatening to bring my piece back, to win my piece back. So I'm going to get my piece back, basically. If he tries going for g3, like I said before, it's I mean, I can just take the knight anyway, because because this pawn is pinned, as you can see from them arrows I just drew. He can't take my knight anyway, so I can just play it simple and get my piece back, and I've won a pawn. Or if you want to be really daring, you can take this with check, because this is pretty dangerous for him. If he comes after my knight, look at this bishop controlling these squares here, these light squares. I can shuffle my queen over, put him into a discovered attack, and when this knight moves out the way, this knight's going to be covering here, the bishop's going to be covering here, my queen's going to be coming up here. It's going to be checkmate, basically. Let's just make a nothing move for him. You can simply just do this, and it's checkmate on this square, backed up by the bishop. So yeah, I missed this. I missed these tactics. Like I say, I'd already calculated in my head. I think from back here, I was like, okay, if he goes e5, I'm going to go knight f4. He's going to move the queen. I'm going to drop the knight back, and then I'm going to win this pawn. And so, because I'd already calculated it, I never re-looked. I never recalculated other lines. There's a famous saying in chess: when you find a good move, look for a better one. Prime example. Yes, I'm still winning a pawn this way, but those tactics would have been a lot better, because yeah, would have really weakened his king and put me into a massive attack. But anyway, this is the line we went down. He moved his knight, obviously adding, he can see that I've got 1, 2, 3 attackers on this pawn. He moves the knight to clear this bishop to add a third defender, but it doesn't change anything, because I can remove one of his defenders, which I do. Take, and then take, winning a pawn. But again, I missed tactics here. And I say I missed tactics. Let me tell you, I would not have seen this one anyway. So I think what the engine liked was rook to c2. It looks proper random, and I would have never spotted this. This is some high level tactics. So the idea is you're attacking this bishop, right? And if he takes your rook, you now have a discovered attack here. So you take this pawn, attacking the queen, and attacking this. And basically, if he moves the queen, yeah, you just take this. And when the king comes here, he steps into a discovery. So you can just move wherever. That's just checkmate, I suppose, is it? That's checkmate. So yeah, that would have been bad news for him. I don't know what else he can do. You know, if he takes this knight back again, you win the rook. So yeah, that was. But I mean, oh, listen. I'll be completely honest with you. I'm never seeing rook c2. That's some high level stuff. I'll be I'll be intrigued to see anyone watching this video, anyone who's quite high level. I'll be interested to know if you think you'd have seen this. It's probably easy to sit there and go, "Oh yeah, I would have seen that," but I'll be completely honest, I would not have seen it. I just, like I say, I just played the simple move that I think 90% of players would play, and I win a pawn. Um, he takes a rook, I take back, and he brings the queen over to b7, trying to create some counterplay. He's attacking my rook. He's attacking this pawn. Oh, and he's also attacking this knight. Sorry, with his rook and queen. So I'll just play it simple and go rook to d8, and he takes my bishop, which I fully expected him to do. And again, you'll see this eval bar shoot up because once again, for the third time, there were tactics. And for the third time, I missed them. Again, this one is pretty hard to spot. Maybe I would have spotted it if I'd calculated more, but basically, knight to f8. It looks crazy, right? But you're threatening this with check. You're threatening the undefended queen. So basically, the idea is if he takes your queen, you take here, and then you take the queen back, you win the rook, and yeah, if he takes your rook, you win the queen. So yeah, you're up in material no matter what. We're not up loads because you know he has already won a piece. So, but it's enough to win the game. Put it that way. Again, I didn't see that, and I just took the bishop back, as you do. You know, I'm still better here. You can see I'm still it's still -1.5 here, but we are getting in time pressure now. He took the rook, I took back, and he bought the knight here. I guess he can't really get away with taking this pawn, can he? I suppose because I'm probably just going to come here with a fork, assuming that's the best move. Or I mean, I could even check him and then win the knight. So yeah, he's not got time to take that pawn. That's why he moves the knight, I suppose, to get out of this check and takes. Now he's threatening to take, so I just lift my queen. I'm not afraid of any checks in the back rank. This knight can just drop back to f8 and block it. So I just centralise my queen, protecting that. And like I say, this looks like this looks like I should convert this to a win because I'm a pawn up, but being a pawn up isn't so easy. Sometimes even being 2 pawns up isn't so easy, especially when you're in time pressure. We're now at a stage in this game, bearing in mind these are like 70-minute games plus increments, so an hour and 10 minutes plus. I think you've got like 10 or 15 seconds every time you make a move. So this game had probably gone on for about 2.5 hours, something like that, and we're now both really low on time. And I'm terrible under time pressure. He plays knight to e4, I play queen to d4, and it was in this position I offered him a draw, and he gladly accepted. He's a pawn down, he gladly accepted. But the problem is, I want to say we were down to like less than a minute. It's a time scramble, and I am terrible at blitz chess. I'm awful. I would have definitely cocked this up for sure if I had to play under time pressure. And after we agreed a draw, I spoke to one of his teammates, one of his club mates, and he told me that this guy's really good in time pressure. He's really good at blitz. So I'm really bad at blitz. He's really good. So even though I'm a pawn up, it sounds like I probably could have been in trouble getting in time pressure. So I was happy with the draw. This guy's, like I said, he's like 1800 over the board, so he's like a couple hundred points rated higher than me. So it's a good result. It was a really good result, and I played well. I missed a few tactics, but I don't think they were easy tactics to spot. I do think they were all quite difficult to spot. Um, they only look easy when you know they're there. But at the time, yeah, I wouldn't. I don't know if the problem is that I'm just not looking for them. That's, it's probably, if I was doing that, if I was doing a puzzle book and I had them, I'd probably see them all. But it's easy to do a tactic when you know it's there. The problem is actually looking for the tactic while you're in a game. So anyway, yeah, it was a nice game. I was happy with the result. I was happy with how I played, and yeah, I think I'm all caught up to date now with all my on the board games. So I will be bringing more videos when I next play some chess. Thanks for watching.